Well, back home on the Lal Street, it was another day where the bears dominated Friday's session. Market ended off the day's low as Nifty held above 10,700 and the Sensex moved above 35,800. The Nifty Bank and the mid-caps underperformed, with the latter falling almost 1%. But that was about Friday. A lot has changed over the weekend, and Nigel will tell us how the cues stack up for today. Nigel, over to you.
Well, as we mentioned in the first segment itself, in the US markets, they have had a good run. All the three indices, they're either gaining for the last 7 consecutive weeks or they're gaining for 8 consecutive weeks. The Dow, the S&P and the Nasdaq. But importantly, when you have a big run on the US markets, it's normally because, there is some resolution or there's some hopes of a resolution on the trade talks. When that happens, you have Brent crude prices as well that move up, which is not very, very great news for us because now Brent is holding at around $66.50 on a per barrel basis. And remember, in 2019 itself, it's up nearly around 25% odd. And that could be one of the reasons why the Indian markets have relatively underperformed the rest of the emerging market basket, because the MSCI emerging market basket, that's up by nearly around 7%. The MSCI India index, that's down by 3.5%. And that when you have the backdrop that the Dow has gained more than 10% in this year itself. And we look at the emerging markets as well, the Brazilian index has been on fire. The Shanghai market, that's very, very important because from the MSCI emerging market index, that has nearly around 30% weightage. So with that one doing well, that's definitely pulling up the MSCI emerging market index. Well, if you're looking at underperformance, then the Nifty, yes, it's underperforming, but the mid-cap and the small-cap space, that's really where the pain is. Now, in Friday's trading session, the Nifty went down all the way to around 10,620. From there, it saw more than a 100-point rally to end about the 10,720 odd mark. And remember, the 10,550 to 10,600 mark, that the bulls will feel that they can defend that mark. Because remember, even on 29th of January, we went down sub the 10,600 level. From there, we had nearly a 500-point rally odd. And now from the top, we have corrected from those highs of around 11,100 odd. So in 8 sessions, we went up by nearly around 500 points odd. In terms of flows, the FIs, they continue to sell. The DIs are backing up this market. And that's precisely what has happened in the last 5 trading sessions. The FIs are net sellers to the tune of around 2,500 crores. The DIs, they have backed all of that up. And that's why, in fact, they prevented further damage. Though the Nifty is down nearly 350 points in the last 6 trading sessions all. Now, good to see Asian markets, they're indicating a bit of a bounce because we're down nearly 350 points in 6 sessions. We're indicating a gain of around 15 to around 20 points. I would say that is good because, if you were running away, then you're not able to take a fresh long position. A more mature 15-20 point bump up is what it's indicating. But if you're looking at the F&O market, there is some shorting at the top. The premium on the Nifty futures has come down. And the last week, the FIs added more shorts than longs. They bought puts as well as they're writing calls, telling you clearly it's quite bearish out there. And if you look at the long short position as well, that'll tell you the picture. The long positions, in fact, have come down from 53% to around 47%. And that's really adjusted in the short positions as well. The only good part, Nisha, is that the PCR has come down from 1.7 to around 1.3. We normally see, the markets bounce when we reach that 1.2 odd mark. But the maximum open interest at around the 10,700 put has a premium of around 60 to around 80 rupees. So the bulls, they'll be backing themselves. They can defend the 10,550 to around the 10,600 mark. But I'm very uncomfortable with what's going on in the broader markets. We had frontline stocks, Page Industries, the darling of the market, was down nearly around 8.5%. Ashok Leyland has half from the top, that was down 5%. And United Breweries as well is down nearly around 5% in Friday's trading session. And these are high quality names falling 5 to around 8% odd.
Oh, well, yes, there's definitely quite a bit of pain in the mid-cap space. In fact, last week we saw a fall of around 4.6, 4.7% on the mid-cap space. But Nigel, you mentioned a lot of stocks that were in focus last week and on Friday. What are the stocks that have been in focus today? I'm
going to watch 2 stocks, 2 set of stocks today. One is Yes Bank. That stock should be under pressure because the RBI, they have wrapped them on the knuckles. They are saying that, in fact, you've disclosed that report, which was actually confidential. They're referring to the risk assessment report. And they've also identified several other lapses in the bank's functioning. So on the back of that, Yes Bank should be a stock that will open up in the red. Remember, it ran from around 170 to around 220. So expect some red out there. In terms of the Anil Ambani Group stocks, you should see some green because news coming in overnight or late in the second half on Sunday evening. Anil Ambani has reportedly reached an agreement with lenders and they've assured him that they're not going to be selling any shares till September 2019. Now, that should be good news for them. So we'll keep an eye out on the whole host of these names. Remember, from the time this entire news broke out, we have been seeing that these stocks have lost anything between 30 to around 50% odd. So all these stocks should be in focus in today's trading session. Dr. Reddy's, well, it had a very volatile session in Friday's trading session. It was down nearly around 20%. It recovered from the low point of the day. Now they've said, the company has said that the US FDA determines inspection classifying of Duvada as VAI, that's voluntary action indicated. So that should be a bit of a relief for them. And that's why the intraday chart as well will tell you that the stock had seen a big recovery, 15% from the lows. Tech Mahindra, well, they're going to be considering a buyback on the 21st of February. So keep an eye out on that stock. Jet Airways, you had a con call post-market hours. They're talking about debt reduction. We have an exclusive as well where we are saying that, in fact, they're going to be considering a rights issue. So keep an eye out on Jet Airways. The stock recovered from the lows in Friday's trading session. And a couple of other stocks. Coffee Day says that the tax department has now attached 2 crore shares in the company. Remember, earlier it was they had attached Mindtree shares. So keep an eye out on that stock. And finally, PNC Infra, the company has bagged an order worth around 150 to around 200 crores. So a whole host of stocks.
Okay, Nigel, thank you so much for that.